We bring in acting ICE Director Todd Lyons. Good to have you with us, Director. This is obviously a very tragic day. I'd love to ask you what you think you are understanding based on the early investigation about what happened here this morning.
So, yeah, it was such a tragic incident that just saw it unfolded so quickly. But what you saw was you had a sniper on a roof who was firing into that open area, which is a sally port, which is where we bring in our detainees and prisoners when they're going to be processed and put into facility. Looking at it, he was a definite target of the ICE facility itself was a target. You saw from those photos, the windows were shot out in the buildings. The lobby doors were shot, and he fired into an open area that just had no roof covering. The detainees weren't outside the vehicle. He was just firing at ICE vehicles. I'm extremely proud of the brave men and women that were on the ground. They went into those vehicles to rescue those detainees while they under fire. So it wasn't directed at the detainees. It wasn't directed at civilians on the street. It was a definite attack on law enforcement. He was there to attack that building.
Thanks to you opening it up, this opportunity for us in July, we were at this facility and we interviewed some of the ICE agents, very hardworking people who were very proud of the work that they do here. Here is one young woman, Selena, talking about the threat that they were facing. Watch.
We're here to protect the public. We're here to enforce immigration enforcement. I'm very proud to say that I work for ICE, and to have to take off my polo or, hide behind so that way my family is not put in danger or my colleagues are not put in danger.
So I'm thinking about all those people that we met down there and spoke with. How are they all feeling today in the wake of this?
Everyone's really shook up. Everyone's really scared because this is, like I said, a pure attack on ICE. I know so many of those officers and agents down there. That's where I started my career. The windows that they show is my old office. So whoever was sitting in my old chair had to, duck under the desk. These men and women, they go to work just to complete a law enforcement mission. I get asked all the time what keeps me up at night. It's the safety of the men and women of ICE, and it's just getting worse. And to what the vice president said, it just has to stop.
So what do we know? And, that one of these detainees was killed. We also that day saw rows of detainees just calmly sitting in chairs. Some of them were outside relaxing at a picnic table under one of those sally ports. And they were in various stages of, presenting documentation or going through processes. But it was all being handled very professionally from what we saw and reported that day. What do we know about this individual? Because this pattern is so disturbing. Another sniper-positioned shooter etching things onto bullets. What is going on here? Who is this guy?
And that's what's scary. So the FBI did identify him, as Brooke said. He does have a criminal history. I don't want to get too far ahead of the FBI, but that's someone that's obviously has an issue with ICE. You just don't randomly pick up a sniper rifle and etch anti-ICE sentiment and comments on rounds like that. We were talking earlier, it's hard to do that. Someone has to take the time to do that. And it's a scary thought because, as you said, where he fired into, it wasn't just detainees or law enforcement officers. That was the waiting area where attorneys are that are there to see their clients, the public that's there visiting. I-35 is a major highway right there. And you saw those bullets penetrated through the lobby, into the wall, into the flag. People going to work, going to school could have been killed on I-35.
So we said the name before, Joshua John. I believe he's 29 years old. There is some suggestion that there is a police car positioned outside another home right now in Texas. We're waiting to confirm that to see if they are zeroing in on where he lived or where his family members lived. Give us just, the broad strokes of what we are learning about him. You said he had a criminal history, violent criminal history?
From what I'm being told, it was for drugs. So, again, I don't want to get too far ahead of Director Patel's investigation, but he was known to law enforcement. And we're going to see over the next 24 hours what FBI can do and figure out. Obviously, they're going to get rid of all his contacts, scrub his social media, maybe go to his parents' home or where he was living. But they want to drill down and figure out what made him anti-ICE, what made him want to do that, and see if there's any co-conspiracy, see if the facility is still safe, see if anything else is planned. But we're still in the early stages. And obviously, what we got to do first and foremost is protect the men and women of ICE, harden up our facilities, make sure we're safe. But then we really got to target these people that are anti-ICE rhetoric or causing threats, and really take it deep down and see what happened with this gentleman right here.
I mean, as you say, we're just in the early stages of understanding this person and what his motivation may have been. But it raises questions. You have these sniper attacks. This is not normal. This is not even what you saw in California at that marijuana farm, which is, more of just like disgruntled protester. In one case, though, I should remember, there was a guy with a gun who was pointing a gun at ICE officials. But this kind of calculated sniper attack that we saw in Charlie Kirk's situation, and we're seeing that video from California there, the sniper attacks that were against President Trump. Are these inspiring each other as a law enforcement person? Does this concern you that we're seeing a trend here?
It does. It really does. And Secretary Noem had a great quote. What she put out on X is that this language and the rhetoric is so vile against us, and it's feeding off of it. She was so concerned. She's been leading from the front. She was on the phone with me and the deputy director, caring about men and women of ICE. She's making sure that we have all the resources we need. But to her point, the rhetoric and just the comments, disgusting comments made about ICE officers, their families, and what we do for mission is really spurring all of these attacks, and it's only going to get worse.
You know what? I want to play this conversation. Governor Gavin Newsom was on last night with Stephen Colbert, and what he said is getting a lot of attention today. The vice president pointed it out earlier. I want to play it for you, get your reaction. Let's watch.
If some guy jumped out of an unmarked car in a van with a mask on, tried to grab me, I mean, by definition, you're going to push back. And so these are not just authoritarian tendencies. These are authoritarian actions by an authoritarian government.
What would you say to the governor about that?
Oh, it's completely ridiculous. Completely. If you look at any of the videos, the arrests we make, Fox has been around with us, CNN, ABC, men, women of ICE, and the other federal partners that we're with, clearly identified, have badges, have the vest. They know who they are. These individuals know ICE is looking for them. And his no mask secret police law, we wouldn't have to have it if politicians like that weren't calling for the doxing of ICE agents. We're calling for threats on their family. I've said it all the time, I don't like the masks, but if you look at the beginning of this administration, up until March, we didn't have to wear it. It wasn't until people started going out and championing against the law enforcement mission the men and the women of ICE do every day, that they started doing that. They're protecting themselves, protecting their family.
How are you going to protect your agents?
We have, we're going to take a serious deep dive into that. We're going to make sure our buildings are hardened up. Our federal partners have been great coming to our support. But, I've never in my law enforcement career did I think I would have to go ahead and provide security and support to law enforcement officers trying to make an arrest.
So we remember the call for added ICE agents, recruiting more ICE agents. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was going really well initially. Yeah. Is that still happening, or are people too scared to get involved in this?
It still is, because I think people realize it's a noble mission. It's a law enforcement agency, right? It's not a secret police.
You wanted 100,000 more?
We're hiring 10,000 more, and we're already up to over 150,000 applicants. There are so many people that want to come out and join ICE, not just for the, be part of this deportation mission or the secret police. There are men and women that want to have a noble law enforcement profession, and that's what we offer. And that's what really, really disgusts me, is the fact that what the men and women of ICE are doing is a noble law enforcement. They're doing their sworn duty. They're following the laws that Congress has written.
And that was what I heard from the agents that we spoke to at this same Dallas office, that they said, when we go and apprehend someone, contrary to what you're hearing from Governor Newsom there, it's been a case. We've worked the case. We know where the person is. We're ready to apprehend them based on the case that we've built for removal. And, there was nothing, arbitrary about what they were explaining to us. And I hope you'll let us know if you learn more about this Joshua John, because his profile so far appears to be close to these other snipers, young men going off the rails. We saw what happened in Utah to Charlie Kirk, and we want to learn more about who this individual is and what's going on out there. So thank you very much, Director Lyons. Always good to have you with us, and we hope we wish safety upon your agents out there as they do their jobs. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And you as well. Thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.